Hey everyone, Sheila here from Life with Pets. So the day has finally arrived where the jars have come in. We did have a bit of a mix up with the shipping order, but they've now arrived. So this is what we got. They are just very basic 1 gallon jars. They came with plastic lids, which is absolutely fantastic, and so we will be able to actually sort of drill a hole in them, and we did do that and it was very easy to do. We did decide to experiment, and so with some of them we put in just a single hole, and this is how it ended up. And then in another one we cut a flap, and this one I actually find does work a little better. It's easier for getting the food in and out. The only thing I did find is it does sit up a little, and so I would be a little concerned that should a betta fish decide to jump, then maybe that might not be the best way. So I think probably for most of them we're going to just do the single hole. And for now we did just order 12 jars, so I've got 12 of these, but as we've only got 11 fish that we're separating, and as you can see in the background some of them are already in a divided tank, then we don't need that many jars. So I'm going to set some jars up today and I'm going to show you how I went about doing it. So before using them, they do need to be obviously washed out. Don't use any detergent if you are doing something like this. The best way to sterilize something is to do a bleach solution and then just wash them in that, rinse them off thoroughly, and then allow them to air dry for 24 to 48 hours, and that will take care of any residue. So I have had some water left standing, and I'm just going to add that into the jars. Like I say, these are 1 gallon jars. So in the jars I am going to add in some guppy grass, and I'm also doing a mixture again of the almond leaves, and I'm going to add those in as well. I have actually found with the jars I am doing water changes every other day. I do sort of like spot cleaning with a turkey baster, sort of picking up any mess in between, and then every other day I do a large water change on them, and that seems to be keeping the water parameters where they need to be. The one thing I will say about jarring is it does take a lot of time, so if you are thinking of breeding, it is something that you need to think about the time management in taking care of the babies. I'm very fortunate right now in that we are only going to have 4 in jars because the rest are behind in the divided tank, and then I've also got the ones here in the 20 gallon long as well. So we are fortunate that we're not going to have to do many jars, but if we did have a lot of them, then boy would it be an awful lot of work. So if you are thinking of breeding, make sure that that is something that you take into consideration, because obviously you need to put the time in to keep the water quality good for the fish so that they continue to grow. So I've added the guppy grass in, and then I'm also going to add in some of the almond leaves that I've had here. Now these are probably going to float for a while because these are new almond leaves that I've been sort of stewing in the boiling water because I want to get the tannins. So the leaves probably will not sink for maybe a day or two. Sometimes they do it a bit quicker, but on the whole they don't. But I do find that the fish do like these in the jars, so I have been putting sort of quite a few in, and it does seem to make a difference. And the water over the sort of 24 hours of before I actually water change, the water does change colour, so it does make a difference in there, and I just think that it does help them with stress levels and obviously water quality as well. And I will actually add in the tannins as well. That's why I've not actually filled the jars. I've sort of left them with maybe another ½ inch that I would fill them, and that way I can add this in to there, and then again they've got the tannins in the water as well. So I have added in the almond leaf extract now, and as you can see it has changed the colour to the jars. I have actually pulled out some that I'm going to put in. This is one little cellophane, and this is actually the one that was in the 75 gallon. I did manage to catch her, and she has been in the grow out tank for probably about the last week. So she is one that is now ready to be jarred because she is actually starting to get sort of quite aggressive. So I'm just going to sit them in the top, and then this one is also another cellophane. This one's just got a little bit of black starting to show on the tail. Unfortunately, it's not going to stay still, so you're not going to see it, but that's another one as well. So these two will be going up for sale along with the 4 in the background, and then I've also got another 2 sort of metallic and red, and a very deep red bodied as well. So we have got several that will be going up for sale soon. If you haven't seen the video answering all the questions about them going up for sale, I will leave a link to that in the little top iCard, and then if you want to just go take a look at all the details on that video, then you can do. So I am going to leave these to just sort of get used to the temperature for a little while, and then I'll come back and release them into the jars. Okay, so I think they're ready to go into the jars. Now, one thing I am sure a lot of people have noticed is there is no heater in these jars. And for us personally, we don't actually need heaters in the tanks because our house runs at a suitable temperature for betta fish. If you're in a situation where that is not going to be the case, then you would need to have a heater or a heating mat maybe, or heat the room to the temperature that they actually need. This one doesn't want to come out, so there we go. So that's something that you also need to take into consideration, that if you do have a lot of jars, that you may be looking at having to heat a whole room to keep the temperatures where they need to be, or you can actually buy sort of like strip matting, whereby that will actually sort of heat from underneath. You would sit the jar on top of the matting and then it would heat them from the underneath. So they're just things, like say, just take into consideration if you are going to start jarring fish. The other thing I do want to get across is obviously these homes are temporary. They are going in these jars. They're only going to be in them for maybe 2 to 3 weeks before they go to the new home. So these jars are not permanent homes. They're not suitable as permanent homes for betta fish, but they are very commonly used by breeders, which, I mean, we are a first time breeder, but they are very commonly used by breeders as holding jars before the betta fish go to their new homes. So again, something you need to take into consideration is that it's only temporary and they can't stay in them for any length of time. So I'm going to go ahead and set up some others, and then when I've done that, I will show you what I've done, and then I will also feed the fish and we can see whether those little feeding holes are going to work or not. So here are 3 of the jars set up here, and I do have card that I put between them. Right now I'm just letting them have some flare time, but normally they would actually be carded so they can't see each other, so we would put cards sort of down the slots here. And then I do have another one here, and this one I usually sort of jam some kitchen towel around so that it can't see, because this one here, if you're wanting a feisty one, boy, this one here is so feisty, and any glimpse of a betta fish and it's just going crazy. So this one here can usually see if I don't sort of put this across and wrap it round. So that's what I usually do, and so just tape it on, and then that keeps it that they can't see. And then when I want the flare time, then I just undo it and they can see each other and get some flare time. So I'm going to try feeding them and see how the little holes work. So I'm going to see if I can do that one-handed. Let's get some food. So I'm going to be doing some bloodworms today, and let's see whether they're going to come and eat or whether they're too interested in each other, and actually it looks like they might come and eat. So the hole is about the right size, just about, and in it goes, and I don't know, there we go. Unfortunately the jars do distort them, but they are able to find the food, and we've got glare as well, which obviously isn't helping. So that is that one. Maybe if I put a light over, maybe a light over would be better. All right, and then we can do this one, give this one some, which I can't do one-handed. Okay, put some in for that one. What I do like about adding the guppy grass in is very often it sort of sends the food all over the place, which then means they have to go looking for it. And I think that is much better from an enrichment standpoint than it all sort of just literally being put into their mouths. The fact that they sort of have to go looking around for it, I think, is good. Alright, and then let's feed the ones in the divided tank, and there we go, some for that one. And this one's actually coming out with some nice patterns. This was cellophane, but has now started to get a lot of black on it, and it's actually got yellow, no, not yellow, it's got orange on the top of its head as well. So that one's actually starting to change colour. The koi ones will change colour a lot over time. That's just what happens. There's that one, and the last one here. This one's a very pretty metallic. That's the last one there. Okay, and then we'll add some into the 20-gallon long as well. All the tanks are actually due water changes today, so I'm going to feed and give it an hour or two, and then I'm going to clean the tanks so that they can have got all the waste got rid of. This one here I am going to be keeping, the one on the left. The one on the right, I'm still undecided whether to keep that one or not yet, but definitely the one on the left we are keeping, and that one will be our future breeder. So that's the jarring all done. Hopefully they will be much happier in the bigger jars than they were in those little cups. This, I think, is a much better environment for them. Hopefully they will continue to grow well, but obviously we have to put that work in the water changes and giving them good food. Alright, I just have to show this guy. He is just been desperately trying to get attention the whole video. So this is Bellfin, for those of you that don't know. He is our Aranda goldfish, and he is saying feed me right now, so he's wondering what on earth's going on with all the cameras around here and the lights and everything. But this is our gorgeous boy. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.